Welcome back to K-Nation Live. I'm City Clark alongside Cole Emplet. Earlier this week, I got the chance to talk with K-State women's golf head coach Stew Burke, and in an exclusive one-on-one, hear about his young team, international recruiting, and a program alum. Season kind of started up in September. Just what are you seeing early on from your squad this year?
I think the really cool thing is we're young. We had 4 underclassmen in the lineup the last 2 weeks, and looking like we're going to have 4 underclassmen in the lineup the third week, which, obviously as a coach, it means you've done a good job in recruiting the players, but also means the young ones are comfortable enough and they're stepping up when needed. So we've had a pretty good start to the year. I'm happy with what I'm seeing.
And you mentioned a young squad. What are kind of the difficulties or challenges you can kind of run into early in the season with that younger squad?
I think one of the biggest things is experience. Just, knowing when they're out of position, they don't have to hit the hero shot all the time, and they've done a really good job of that. We've recruited well, and that's something that, they're starting to understand, both Coach Rinko and I's philosophy. So, we're delighted about how they're taking things on and really being mature beyond their years.
You mentioned kind of that recruiting aspect, pretty much a whole international roster here. When you're recruiting, how do you kind of recruit and sell the Kansas State brand to those international players?
It's the best kept secret in America. It's the #1 college town. We've got definitely the best facilities for golf in terms of our course here. The people in Manhattan are just absolutely unbelievable. There's nowhere like it. We're head and shoulders above the rest. So I'm just delighted with how easily they've settled in. The people definitely make K-State.
And you mentioned the course. Kind of tell me the difficulty and the training level of the advantage you have with kind of difficulty of a course you have here.
Yeah, we've got a world-class facility. We've got a championship golf course at Cobert Hills. We've got our own short course, par 3, that we train on a lot, and you've got to be able to play in all sides of weather here, which definitely makes our squad great. You saw that with the 2 programs with the University of Kansas and us last year going to the national championship. So I think that's testament to what the state of Kansas golf has to offer.
And you set kind of a new standard last year, making that appearance in the national championship. Just how do you elevate that? How do you keep that standard alive here, and just as you enter in this season?
I think, to be honest, you just keep running your systems. You know what works, you know what doesn't work. There was things we could have done a little bit better last year, and it'll be up to Coach Rinko and I to make sure that we elevate that this year. And then there'll be things that went well last year that don't go quite as well this year. So I think as a coach, you're always learning. It's a very growth mindset. You're making sure that you're understanding, the different types of players you're working with week in, week out. We've got a sport like no other. One day you can be great, and the other day it can be extremely humbling. So, we just want to stay humble, work hard, and show that blue collar work ethic we always do at Kansas State.
And coming off a 7th place finish last week, and then next week, you head to Arkansas. Just how are you kind of making adjustments this week as you head into that new invitational?
Yeah, we played that event last year. It's definitely one of the toughest tests of golf. So we've set up our golf course in qualifying to mirror as well that we can the blessings. Last week we kind of, every time we made a birdie, we made a bogey at the same time. So we had some stuff to clean up with on short game. But I think as the self-belief grows with the players, we beat a lot of great schools last week, but just couldn't really make the impact that we were wanting to make in that event. The fall season's all about learning. We just got to keep ourselves in position to make a great run in the spring.
Yeah, and then how important is the fall season, obviously, as you prepare for the spring? Because golf it's a long season here. I don't think people always realize that. And you take the winter not off necessarily, but obviously there's probably snow on the ground. So just how do you take the fall season in mind?
Yeah, if you were to have a football season where you played 4 games and then you lost your players for 8 weeks, and then you brought them back and you just had to kind of pick up straight away from when you went off, that's what we're up against in golf. We're ranked from the very first tournament to the very last tournament. So, our players do make the commitment to play a great winter schedule. And for us, that's a big part of why we're ready to go in the spring. And then we've got, practice trips and the likes that we do to prepare them for that first event. But fall is incredibly important. You got to put yourself in position to be able to have a big push in the spring.
You mentioned that young squad, still learning, still early on in the season. Just what are the goals you guys have for this squad this year?
I mean, we want to return to the national championship. You know, we want to be a school that does that every single year. But more importantly is we want our players to continue to develop and get better every year. You know, we've seen that with our program. We've got Carla Burnett at the LPGAQ school this week, about to make it to the next stage. And that's really important. You know, being somewhere that players come in and develop, have a great experience, because they're going to leave with a great degree from Kansas State. It's just, can they take the next step into the professional environment, which is ultimately our goal.